Hi everyone, I'm Philip Galinsky of Samba New York, and in this video I'll be continuing the breakdown of this basic standard arrangement, as I call it, for the most common song form for the Samba-Enredo, using my original Samba-Enredo Sambando as an example. If you haven't yet watched the first video, part 1, definitely watch that one first. And even before getting to that one, make sure that you've watched what is the Samba-Enredo and the most common song form for the Samba-Enredo explained, okay? So now that you've checked out what the first, second, and third surdos are doing in this basic standard arrangement, let's go over what the Kaisha, Repinique, Tamborim, chocalho, and agogo, the two-bell agogo, will be doing, okay? Keep in mind that there is no one standard arrangement for the Samba-Enredo. There, I would say, are different versions of this kind of basic standard arrangement, okay? And everyone might have their own particular version, but this is the one that I'll be sharing here. And this one works very well, in my opinion, with my samba, Sambando. Okay, so we're gonna start after the chamada, and we're gonna go into the first part of the samba, playing the Kaisha. Okay, so how does the Kaisha come in after the chamada? 1, 2, 3, 4. So the Kaisha is going to come in on beat 2 of the measure after the chamada or call on the lead Repinique. Let's do that again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll be playing what I consider to be the most basic pattern for samba on the Kaisha, which is known as the levada reta or batida reta, the straight ahead pattern or straight ahead beat, which is none other than the basic subdivisions of the samba, okay? And the Kaisha will come in together with the first and third surdos on beat 2 in the measure after the call, okay? This is a very typical way for the Kaishas to come in the samba schools of Rio de Janeiro, for example, okay? In other baterias, in some baterias, they may come in on beat 3. There are different ways of coming in, but coming in right on beat 2 with their basic pattern starting on beat 2 is very typical, all right? So that's how we're gonna come in. We're gonna play this pattern throughout the whole arrangement, and we're only going to play a virada to go into each next section of the song. Of course, playing the 3 break will be a little different, so let's break that down. So we're in the first part of the samba. We've sung the verse, we're getting to the refrain. At the end of the refrain, we're going to play a virada along with the rest of the bateria to go into the second part of the samba. So, me chama, me leva, não importa a cor, tira a dor, o samba só traz alegria, energia e amor. Me chama, me leva, não importa a cor, tira a dor, o samba só traz alegria, energia e amor. Prosseguindo, evoluindo. We're into the second part, okay? So you're simply going to play right up into the virada, play the virada, 1 into 2 and 3, rest 1. And you come back in on the next beat 1, okay? Of course, the first and third surdos are playing boom 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 tak. So they kind of signal you to come in with that pickup note on the and of 4, the first and third surdos, which is known as the boom box. All right, and the box of the boom box is right on the 1, which is where you're going to play on Kaisha. All right, so you're into the second part of the samba. To go back to the first part of the samba, in this case, we're going to come back to the first part of the samba using a 3 break. Here's the version of the 3 break that we're going to play. So we have Sambando, Sambando, eu vou te mostrar. Sambando, 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 é de arrepiar, é de arrepiar, a festa do carnaval. Okay, so for the three break, we're just going to go, we'll play the virada, which is the transition from the second part to the first part, going into the three break. So, ta-ga-da-ga-da-da-da, rest, 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4, ta-ga-da-ga-ta-ga-da-ga-ta-ga-da-ga-ta-ga-da. That's all it is. Ta-ga-da-ga-ta, ta-ga-da-ga-ta, ta-ga-da-ga-ta-ga-da-ga-ta-ga-da-ga-ta. So we'll continue playing our basic pattern up into the virada, going into the second part of the samba. 1, 2, 3, 4, ta-ga-da-ga-da-ta-ta. Prosseguindo, evoluindo. Keep playing throughout the whole second part, and then we're going to play a final virada. 1, 2, 3, 4 to end. Okay, so very straightforward. The Repinique is essentially going to play the same thing, but instead of using alternating sticking, it's going to use the typical sticking for the Repinique, which is 3 in the dominant hand and 1 bare hand for the fourth subdivision of each beat. Okay, so after the call, the Repinique is going to go boop ba boop ba boop ba da barukatugara katakara 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 kata. Let me just explain that the lead Repinique or Repiniques will play the call, right? So boop ba boop ba boop ba da barukatugara katugara 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 katu. But the Repiniques that are known as the Repiniques de base or Repiques de base, which are the foundational Repiniques, which are just playing the groove, right? They're going to respond to the call on the lead Repiniques. Okay, so they're actually, the Repinique section of the bateria really consists of 2 subsections: the lead Repiniques, which are known as the Repique bossa or Repinique bossa, and the foundational Repiniques, which are just playing the basic pattern, responding to the lead Repiniques like everybody else, are known as the Repique de base, okay, or Repinique de base. All right. So after the call, boop ba boop ba boop ba da barukatugara 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So it'll essentially come in just like the Kaisha for this arrangement, and it will play the viradas just like the Kaisha does. So the virada going into the second part. 1, 2, 3, 4. At the end of the second part, going into the first part, into the 3 break. 1, 2, 3, 4. Virada into the second part again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And a final virada. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's what our Repiniques de base or Repiques de base will be playing for this arrangement. All right, let's move on now to the Tambourine. The Tambourine is actually the instrument that, in my opinion, is the one that sort of most clearly defines this basic arrangement, because as you've seen, the first, second, and third surdos, well, the third surdo does have its subidas, so that does help shape, kind of give a little more flavor to the arrangement. But the first and second surdos and the Kaishas and Repiniques essentially do nothing different for the second part than for the first part. Of course, there's the 3 break, and everyone does something different for that, but otherwise, for the first and second part, the first and second surdos and Kaishas and Repiniques de base are not doing anything different. The Tambourine does something different throughout, okay? So let me explain. In this kind of most basic, or this basic standard arrangement, this version of a basic standard arrangement for Samba-Enredo, or the most common Samba-Enredo song form, the Tambourine will begin with its own subida, or entrance pattern. Literally, again, it means ascent, but we can translate it as entrance pattern. And the subidas tend to happen in exciting moments or the peak energy moments of the song. So the first part tends to be a peak energy moment. There's a virada into the second part of the samba. The second part of the samba, specifically the verse of the second part, tends to be a lower energy moment. The energy comes down a little bit. And then the energy tends to return for the refrain of the second part. And then it also remains high for the first part again, or the three break, which is, again, a different way to come into the first part. Okay, so let's go through this. After the chamada, the Repinique is going to go. Okay, so the subida on the tamborim is going to take place in the third measure after the call. So the call goes 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the call is one measure. The rest of the bateria, minus the tamborim, chocalho, and agogo, come in the second measure. In the third measure, the tamborim plays its subida, ending on beat 1 of the fourth measure. And on the fifth measure, the tamborim starts its basic pattern, the basic subdivisions of the samba, which are the same basic subdivisions as these basic patterns on the Kaisha and the Repinique and the chocalho, which we'll get to. Okay, and so that's how this works in this basic standard arrangement. So again, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's go over the subida of the tamborim. The subida on the tamborim, whereas on the surdo, this basic subida on the third surdo tends to be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 E01. Okay, or that's one basic subida at least, which is also known as a corte or cut. On the tamborim, the subida in its kind of most basic format, it consists of triplets, okay? A series of triplets. And this particular subida is known as the 4-beat subida because it has 4 beats of triplets, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, 1, ending on beat 1 of the next measure. Then beats 2, 3, and 4 are rests, and then we come in with the caetero, or the turning pattern, the basic subdivisions of the samba, which is one of the main patterns, one of the basic patterns for the tamborim. That's when the caetero comes in on beat 1 of the next measure. So let's do that again. 2, 3, 4. Okay, so if you don't yet know what the basic pattern is for any of these instruments that I've demonstrated here, Kaisha, Repinique, Tambourine, first surdo, second surdo, third surdo, there is a video for it here on the channel. So what I encourage you to do is to go to the playlist for that particular instrument, and you will find videos outlining one or more basic patterns for that instrument, for samba, and you will find each of these patterns in those various playlists for each instrument. Okay, so this here I'm just using the 3-in-1 technique. There are different techniques to play the caetero, or the trucker rhythm, the subdivisions of the samba on the tamborim. Here I'm just using the 3-in-1 technique. Okay, so check out that video. 2 basic patterns for samba on the tamborim, one of which is the caetero. Okay, so we're going to play through the first part of the samba. When we get to the virada, we're going to play right up into the virada. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, boom, and we're into the second part of the samba. Now, in this basic standard arrangement, the tamborim could play what I consider to be its second basic pattern, which is teleco-teco, or the samba timeline, right away, right on beat one of the second part of the samba, the first measure of the second part of the samba. So that would be boom, 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 boom. 1 and 2 and I love samba. Yes, I love samba. I love samba. Yes. Okay. However, in this version of this standard basic pattern, a standard basic arrangement for Samba-Enredo, I've decided to wait a little bit, which is also quite common. Okay. And I wait until the phrase na chamada do repique. Na chamada do repique, alegria geral. And that's when I start the teleco-teco. Okay, and I play the teleco-teco all the way up into the refrain of the second part. So it goes like this. Na chamada do repique, alegria geral, contagiando a cidade, é o carnaval, sambando com os pés no chão, faz vibrar o coração. On são, right after the syllable são of coração, heart, we play what I call an internal virada. Internal because it's only for the tamborins, not for the whole bateria. Remember, the virada is kind of a bridge between sections. So we're using it as a transition, as a transitional device into the refrain of the samba, the second refrain. So, o coração, sambando, sambando, eu vou te mostrar. Okay, so what we've done there is we've played a virada, then we played a subida de quatro, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and on the next measure, on beat 1, we start our carreteiro for the refrain. So it goes, coração, sambando, sambando, eu vou te mostrar, sambando, sambando, é de arrepiar. So we play carreteiro through the second refrain, the repeat of the second refrain, and then at the end of the second refrain, é de arrepiar, we play a virada, and then we're going to go into the first part of the samba again, but we're going to go into the 3-break in this particular arrangement. So what does the tambourine do for the 3-break here? And again, there are different versions of the 3-break, but for this version, we're going to play together with the Kaishas and the Repinique. So we're going to go, Eja Repia, Eja Repia, and then a subida, and then rest, and then carreteiro. Okay, so that's essentially the arrangement for the tambourine. Okay, now you can see how the tambourine really maps very clearly this arrangement, right? Because it has something distinct that it's doing for each section of the Samba-Enredo. For the first part, we have, after the chamada, we have subida de quatro into the carreteiro. Then we have a virada into the second part. In this case, we wait a little bit, and then we start playing teleco-teco for the second part, the verse of the second part. Then we play a virada, going into a subida de quatro, and then carreteiro again for the refrain of the second part. Okay. Then we go into the 3-break, which is a kind of special way of coming into the first part, and then we just continue playing through virada into the second part again, and then we play the, again, teleco-teco for the second part, at na chamada do repique, so forth and so on. Then we do the virada, subida, carreteiro for the refrain of the second part, and then we end. Okay, so that's what the tambourine does. Let's go to the chocalho. Okay, actually, so this video doesn't get too long. In a subsequent video, I'm going to demonstrate what the chocalho and the agogo do for this arrangement. Okay, so there was a lot here, so if you didn't absorb everything, you didn't get everything, I encourage you to watch this video numerous times so that you really understand how this basic standard arrangement for the Samba-Enredo works. And once you've mastered this, You'll find different variations here and there. Every director, every teacher has might have their own version of this. But this is essentially, it's something that you'll need to know as a bateria percussionist, okay? Because it's the foundation for what the bateria plays. Even in these very complex arrangements, these various elements are, for the most part, present, okay? So, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video.